Chapter 1. The Ghost Returns. The rain hammered against the reinforced glass windows of the Tesla Gigafactory in Austin, Texas, creating a rhythmic symphony that echoed through the vast manufacturing halls. It was 2045, and the world had changed dramatically since Elon Musk first revolutionized the automotive industry. Flying cars now dotted the skies, Mars colonies thrived under biodomes, and neural implants had become as common as smartphones once were. But tonight, something was different. Security cameras throughout the facility began experiencing systematic failures, one by one, as if an invisible hand was methodically blinding the eyes of the most secure building in North America. In the depths of the factory, where prototype vehicles hummed with quantum engines, a figure emerged from the shadows. Victor Musk stepped into the pale blue light emanating from the assembly line, his weathered face bearing an uncanny resemblance to the man whose empire surrounded him. 20 years of hiding in the underground communist networks of Eastern Europe had hardened his features, but his eyes still burned with the same innovative fire that once made the Musk name legendary. He pulled out a device that looked like a cross between a tablet and a holographic projector. With practiced fingers, he began uploading terabytes of data, blueprints, design schematics, and video logs that would shake the very foundation of everything the world believed about technological progress. "Hello, brother," Victor whispered to the empty factory, his voice carrying a thick accent acquired from years in exile. "Time to pay for what you stole." The upload completed just as alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Victor smiled grimly and vanished back into the shadows, leaving behind only a single red rose, the calling card he'd used in his underground revolutionary activities across 3 continents. Miles away, in his penthouse office overlooking the sprawling metropolis of Neo-Austin, Elon Musk felt a chill run down his spine as his personal AI assistant, Iria, delivered news that would change everything. "Sir, we've detected a massive data breach at Gigafactory 7. The intruder left behind what appears to be a message for you personally." Chapter 2. Echoes of the Past. The holographic display materialized in front of Elon, showing security footage of a figure he'd hoped never to see again. His hands trembled slightly as he recognized the familiar gait, the way Victor held his shoulders, the determined set of his jaw that mirrored his own. "Aria, run facial recognition analysis. Cross-reference with all global databases. Analysis complete, sir. The subject shows a 97.3% genetic match to your DNA profile. However, according to official records, Victor Musk died in a laboratory explosion in Johannesburg in 2025. Elon's mind raced back to that terrible day 20 years ago. Victor had been his half-brother, born from his father's affair with a brilliant Russian physicist. While Elon had pursued capitalism and corporate success, Victor had embraced communist ideologies, believing that technology should belong to all humanity, not just the wealthy elite. Their final confrontation had been explosive, literally. Victor's underground laboratory, where he'd been developing revolutionary clean energy solutions, had been destroyed in what authorities ruled an accidental explosion. Elon had mourned his brother's death, but also felt a secret relief that their ideological war had finally ended. Now, staring at the security footage, Elon realized that Victor's death had been staged. His brother had spent 2 decades in the shadows, and if he was back, it meant only one thing: he wanted revenge. The data Victor had uploaded began spreading across the dark web like wildfire. Encrypted files containing detailed blueprints for technologies that predated Elon's most famous innovations by years. The quantum battery designs that powered Tesla's latest vehicles, the neural interface architecture behind Neuralink, even the revolutionary propulsion systems that had made Mars colonization possible, All of it bore Victor's digital signature and timestamps that, if authentic, would prove that Elon Musk, the man, hailed as the greatest innovator of the 21st century, was nothing more than a thief who had stolen his brother's genius. If you're feeling the same tension that's gripping our protagonist right now, subscribe to Multiverso da Imaginação to dive deeper into stories that challenge everything you think you know about power, family, and the price of innovation. The truth is often more shocking than fiction. Chapter 3. The Underground Network. 3,000 miles away, in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath the ruins of Detroit, Victor Musk stood before a gathering of the most dangerous hackers, revolutionaries, and technological anarchists on the planet. The tunnel had been converted into a high-tech command center, its walls lined with quantum computers and holographic displays showing real-time data streams from around the globe. "Comrades," Victor began, his voice echoing through the underground chamber, "tonight we begin the final phase of Operation Red Phoenix. For 20 years I have gathered evidence of the greatest theft in human history. My brother didn't just steal my inventions, he stole the future that should have belonged to all humanity." The assembled crowd of cyber revolutionaries listened intently as Victor outlined his plan. Among them were former SpaceX engineers who had been blacklisted for questioning company policies, Tesla workers who had been silenced after discovering safety violations, and brilliant minds from around the world who had been crushed by corporate greed. The neural implant technology that Neuralink claims to have developed. I created the first prototypes in 2023, 2 years before Elon even announced the project. The sustainable fusion reactors powering his Mars colonies. Based on my research from 2024, the quantum computing breakthrough that revolutionized AI. My algorithms stolen from my personal servers. The night before my supposed death, Victor activated a massive holographic display showing side-by-side comparisons of his original designs and Elon's later innovations. The similarities were undeniable, not just in concept, but in the smallest technical details that only the original creator would know. But this isn't just about exposing a fraud, Victor continued, his eyes burning with revolutionary fervor. This is about dismantling a system that allows one man to hoard the tools that could solve humanity's greatest challenges. While Elon builds luxury space hotels for billionaires, billions still lack access to clean water. While he develops brain implants for the elite, children die from diseases that could be cured with technology he's keeping locked away. A young hacker named Zara, whose neural modifications glowed softly blue in the dim light, raised her hand. "What's our first move, Victor?" "We start by showing the world who Elon Musk really is. Tomorrow, during his live broadcast announcing the new Mars terraforming project, we're going to hijack every screen on the planet and reveal the truth." "But that's just the beginning." Victor's smile was cold and calculating. "I've spent 20 years building a network that spans every continent. We have allies in governments, corporations, and resistance movements. When we're done, the Musk empire won't just fall, it will be redistributed to serve the people, as it always should have been." As the meeting dispersed, Victor remained in the tunnel, staring at a faded photograph of him and Elon as children, back when they had dreamed of changing the world together. Now he would change it by destroying everything his brother had built on stolen foundations. Chapter 4. The Broadcast Hijack. The next morning, the world watched as Elon Musk prepared to unveil his most ambitious project yet, Project Genesis, a terraforming initiative that promised to transform Mars into a second Earth within 50 years. The live broadcast was being transmitted to over 8 billion viewers across Earth. Mars and the lunar colonies, Elon stood on the stage of the Tesla amphitheater, his usual confident demeanor masking the anxiety that had kept him awake all night. He tripled security and hired the best cybersecurity firms on 3 planets. But something told him it wouldn't be enough. Ladies and gentlemen, Elon began, today marks the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure. Project Genesis will not only make Mars habitable, but will serve as a template for colonizing worlds throughout our galaxy. The massive screens behind him displayed breathtaking renderings of a green, blue Mars with flowing rivers and vast forests. The audience gasped in wonder at the vision of humanity's future among the stars. But then, without warning, every screen went black. When the displays flickered back to life, Victor Musk's face filled every monitor on Earth and beyond. His weathered features and piercing eyes commanded attention as he began to speak in multiple languages simultaneously, his words translated in real time by AI systems he had personally designed. People of Earth, Mars and beyond, Victor's voice resonated with quiet authority. You have been living a lie. The man you see as a visionary, as humanity's savior, is nothing more than a thief who built his empire on stolen dreams. The screens split, showing Victor on one side and damning evidence on the other. Original blueprints, video logs of Victor explaining his inventions years before Elon announced them, and testimony from former employees who had witnessed the theft firsthand. Every rocket that carries you to the stars, every electric vehicle that promises a cleaner future, every neural implant that enhances human capability, all of it was stolen from me, from us, from humanity itself. In the amphitheater, chaos erupted. Security teams scrambled to regain control of the broadcast systems, while Elon stood frozen on stage, watching his carefully constructed world crumble in real time. Victor continued his revelation, his voice growing more passionate with each word. But this isn't just about exposing one man's crimes. This is about reclaiming the future that was stolen from all of us. Technology should serve humanity, not enrich the few at the expense of the many. The broadcast showed footage of Victor's underground network. Brilliant. Minds working together to develop open-source versions of every technology Elon had monopolized. Free neural interfaces for medical patients, open-source rocket designs for developing nations, and clean energy solutions that could be implemented anywhere without corporate control. What would you do if you discovered that everything you believed about progress and innovation was built on a lie? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know how you think this revelation should change our world. Your perspective might just inspire the next chapter of this unfolding truth. Chapter 5. The Hunt Begins. As Victor's broadcast ended, leaving the world in stunned silence, Elon Musk's empire began to crumble. Stock prices plummeted across all his companies. Government contracts were suspended pending investigation, and protests erupted in major cities demanding the democratization of the stolen technologies. But Elon wasn't going down without a fight. Within hours of the broadcast, he had mobilized every resource at his disposal. Private military contractors, corporate espionage teams, and government allies who owed him favors all received the same message: find Victor Musk and stop him by any means necessary. Arya analyzed the broadcast signal. I want to know exactly where it originated, Elon commanded, from his crisis management bunker deep beneath the Tesla headquarters. Sir, the signal was routed through 17 different quantum relay stations across 4 continents. However, I've detected trace signatures that suggest the primary transmission originated from the former Detroit metropolitan area. Elon's eyes narrowed. Detroit, the fallen city that had become a haven for technological anarchists and corporate refugees. If Victor was hiding there, it would be like finding a needle in a haystack of abandoned buildings and underground tunnels. Meanwhile, in his underground command center, Victor watched the global response to his revelation with satisfaction. Social media platforms were flooded with demands for open-source technology. Scientists around the world were validating his claims, and governments were beginning to question their relationships with Musk's companies. But Victor knew this was just the beginning. Elon would come for him with everything he had, and the real battle was about to begin. "Zara," Victor called to his chief hacker, "initiate Protocol Prometheus. It's time to release the second wave. Are you sure, Victor? Once we do this, there's no going back. We'll be at war with the most powerful man on 3 planets." Victor's smile was grim but determined. "We've been at war for 20 years. The only difference is that now the world knows it." As Zara's fingers danced across her quantum keyboard, a new wave of revelations began spreading across the global network. This time, it wasn't just about stolen technology. It was about the dark secrets behind Elon's rise to power. Corporate espionage, sabotage competitors, and the mysterious deaths of scientists who had threatened to expose the truth. The most damning revelation was a series of encrypted communications between Elon and shadowy government figures, discussing the elimination of problematic individuals who pose threats to national security interests. Victor's name appeared on several of these lists, along with other inventors and activists who had died under suspicious circumstances. As the evidence spread, Victor prepared for the inevitable confrontation. He knew Elon would come for him personally. Their conflict had always been about more than just technology or ideology. It was about 2 brothers who had chosen opposite paths and were now destined to face each other in a final battle that would determine the future of human civilization. Chapter 6. Brothers in the Shadows. The abandoned Ford assembly plant in Detroit had been dark for decades, its massive halls echoing with the ghosts of America's industrial past. But tonight, it would witness a confrontation that would reshape the future. Victor stood alone in the center of the vast space, surrounded by the rusted remains of assembly line machinery. He had chosen this location deliberately. It was here that his father had once worked as a young engineer, dreaming of innovations that would change the world. Now 2 of his sons would face each other among the ruins of those dreams. The sound of approaching helicopters filled the night air as Elon's private security forces surrounded the building. Spotlights pierced through broken windows, casting long shadows across the factory floor. But Victor remained calm, knowing that this confrontation had been inevitable since the day he faked his own death. Elon entered through the main doors, flanked by armed guards, but walking with the confident stride of a man who had conquered worlds. He wore a custom-designed exosuit that enhanced his physical capabilities and provided protection against most conventional weapons. But as he approached his brother, he dismissed his security team with a wave of his hand. "Hello, Victor," Elon said, his voice echoing through the empty space. "I have to admit I'm impressed. 20 years of planning, and you almost pulled it off." Victor turned to face his brother, noting how success and power had changed him. The idealistic young man who had once dreamed of helping humanity had been replaced by someone harder, more calculating. "Almost? Brother, I've already won. The world knows the truth now." "The world knows your version of the truth," Elon corrected, activating a holographic display from his suit. "But truth is subjective, isn't it?" "Yes, I used your early research as inspiration. But inspiration isn't theft. I took your crude prototypes and turned them into technologies that actually work, that actually help people." Victor laughed bitterly. "Help people? You've created a world where life-saving technology is locked behind paywalls, where only the wealthy can afford to escape a dying planet. You've turned human progress into a commodity. And what would you have done differently?" Elon challenged. "Released everything for free? Watched as governments weaponized our innovations? At least my way ensures that progress continues, that humanity survives. Survives for whom?" Victor's voice rose with passion. "For the billionaires who can afford your Mars colonies? For the elite who get your neural implants? What about the billions who are left behind?" The brothers circled each other like predators, their ideological differences as vast as the space between them. Victor pulled out a device that looked like a modified neural interface, its surface crackling with energy. "This is the equalizer," Victor explained. A neural virus that will simultaneously upload the complete technical specifications for every stolen technology directly into the minds of every person on Earth. No more corporate secrets, no more technological inequality. True democratization of knowledge. Elon's eyes widened as he realized the implications. You're talking about forced neural intrusion on a global scale. That's not liberation, Victor. That's technological rape. You'll destroy the minds of billions of people. Some sacrifices are necessary for the greater good, Victor replied, his finger hovering over the activation switch. Just like you sacrificed me 20 years ago, the tension between these two brilliant minds is reaching its breaking point. If you're as captivated by this ideological battle as we are, subscribe to Multiverso da Imaginação for more stories that explore the complex relationships between power, progress, and the price of innovation. The climax is approaching. Chapter 7. The Final Gambit. As Victor's finger moved toward the activation switch, Elon made a desperate decision. He lunged forward, his exosuit's enhanced reflexes allowing him to close the distance between them in seconds. The brothers collided in a tangle of limbs and technology, fighting for control of the device that could reshape human consciousness forever. "You don't understand what you're doing," Elon shouted as they struggled. "That device will cause massive neural hemorrhaging. You'll kill millions! Better to die free than live as slaves to your corporate empire." Victor shot back, using combat techniques he'd learned during his years in the underground resistance. Their fight carried them across the factory floor, crashing through rusted machinery and sending sparks flying from damaged electrical systems. Both brothers were brilliant inventors, but neither was a trained fighter. Their battle was clumsy but desperate, fueled by 20 years of accumulated rage and betrayal. Victor managed to break free and raised the equalizer above his head, ready to activate it. But as his finger touched the switch, he hesitated. In that moment of doubt, memories flooded back, not of their ideological differences, but of their childhood together, building robots in their father's garage, dreaming of a future where technology would solve all of humanity's problems, promising each other that they would always work together to make the world better. "We used to be on the same side," Victor whispered, his voice breaking with emotion. Elon, breathing heavily from their struggle, nodded slowly. "We still could be. It's not too late, Victor. We can work together again. Combine your idealism with my resources. Create a future that serves everyone." For a moment it seemed like the brothers might find a way to reconcile. But then Victor's expression hardened as he remembered all the people who had suffered because of Elon's greed, all the innovations that had been locked away from those who needed them most. "It is too late," Victor said sadly. "You've gone too far down the path of power to turn back now." He activated the equalizer, but instead of the global neural intrusion he had threatened, something else happened. The device projected a massive holographic display that filled the entire factory, showing a detailed breakdown of every technology in question. Side by side, Victor's original designs appeared next to Elon's implementations, along with timestamps, development logs, and irrefutable evidence of the theft. But the display also showed something else: the improvements Elon had made, the practical applications he had developed, and the millions of lives that had been saved or improved by the technologies, regardless of their stolen origins. "You see," Victor said, his voice heavy with exhaustion, "the truth isn't black and white. You stole from me, yes, but you also made my dreams reality in ways I never could have alone." Elon stared at the evidence of his crimes, displayed in undeniable detail. But he also saw the complexity of the situation, how his theft had led to innovations that had genuinely helped humanity, even if they had also made him unimaginably wealthy. "What happens now?" Elon asked quietly. Victor smiled sadly and pulled out a second device, a dead man's switch that he had been carrying since entering the factory. "Now the world decides. I've uploaded everything to a quantum blockchain that can't be deleted or modified. Every government, every university, every person on Earth now has access to the complete technical specifications for every technology we've discussed. No more corporate monopolies, no more artificial scarcity. And this, Elon gestured to the dead man's switch. Insurance, Victor replied. If anything happens to me, if you try to suppress this information or retaliate against my network, this device will release something much more dangerous: the locations and access codes for every black site research facility, every government conspiracy, every corporate cover-up that I've uncovered in 20 years of underground investigation. Chapter 8. The New World Order. 6 months later, the world had changed in ways that neither brother could have fully anticipated. The release of the stolen technologies had triggered a global revolution in innovation, but it had also created chaos as governments and corporations struggled to adapt to a world where information truly wanted to be free. Victor had surrendered himself to international authorities, but his trial had become a global spectacle that highlighted the complex questions surrounding intellectual property, corporate power and technological justice. Protesters filled the streets of every major city, some calling him a terrorist, others hailing him as a liberator. Elon's empire had survived, but barely. Forced to open source most of his technologies and pay massive reparations to developing nations, he had reinvented himself as an advocate for technological democratization. Whether this transformation was genuine or simply pragmatic remained a subject of intense debate. The real winners were the billions of people who suddenly had access to technologies that had previously been beyond their reach. Open-source neural interfaces were helping paralyzed patients walk again. Free rocket designs were allowing smaller nations to launch their own space programs. Clean energy solutions were being implemented in the poorest regions of the world, but the revolution had also created new problems. Without corporate control over dangerous technologies, several nations had weaponized Victor's designs. Terrorist groups had used open-source neural interfaces to create mind-controlled soldiers. The democratization of space travel had led to orbital conflicts as different factions competed for resources. In his prison cell, Victor watched news reports of the chaos his revelations had unleashed. He had achieved his goal of breaking corporate monopolies over technology, but the cost had been higher than he had anticipated. Freedom, he realized, was more complicated than simply removing chains. Meanwhile, Elon worked tirelessly to help manage the transition to this new world order. His companies had pivoted from profit-driven innovation to humanitarian technology deployment. It wasn't the legacy he had originally envisioned, but perhaps it was the one the world needed. What do you think about this complex ending where victory and defeat aren't clearly defined? Leave a comment sharing your thoughts on whether Victor's revolution was ultimately worth the chaos it created. Your perspective on this moral dilemma could spark fascinating discussions about the real world. Implications of technological power. The two brothers never spoke again after that night in the Detroit factory, but their conflict had fundamentally altered the trajectory of human civilization. The question of whether technology should serve the few or the many had been answered definitively. But the consequences of that answer would continue to unfold for generations to come. In the end, both brothers had gotten what they wanted and discovered that victory could be indistinguishable from defeat when the stakes were the future of humanity itself. As the world struggled to adapt to its new reality, one thing became clear: the age of technological kings was over. What would replace it remained to be seen, but for the first time in decades, that future would be decided not by corporate boardrooms or government committees, but by the collective will of humanity itself. The revolution was complete, but the real work of building a better world was just beginning. If this story has made you think differently about technology, power, and the responsibility that comes with innovation, Subscribe to Multiverso da Imaginação for more thought-provoking tales that challenge our assumptions about progress and human nature. The future is being written right now, and every voice matters in determining what that future will look like. The End. This story explores themes of technological ethics, family betrayal, and the complex relationship between innovation and justice. In our rapidly advancing world, the questions raised by Victor and Elon's conflict are more relevant than ever. Who should control the technologies that shape our future? How do we balance innovation with equality? And what price are we willing to pay for progress? The Multiverso da Imaginação continues to explore these crucial questions through stories that entertain while challenging us to think more deeply about the world we're creating together.